Welcome to Lost Without Japan, a travel podcast about the life-changing experiences of exploring Japan and those moments we would be lost without. For your listening pleasure, allow me to introduce your very own Kanko Guido, Michael.
Welcome to Lost Without Japan. This is your director of travel for TKIC Studio Productions, coming to you with positive thoughts and excitement for your next journey to Japan in his own return in summer 2024. I'd like to thank you for all of you joining Maurice and I today, and I truly hope that today's discussion finds you in a good place or on the path to a better one, no matter how it may seem at this moment. Our bi-weekly show is focused on getting you to Japan for your first time or to make that next adventure to Japan even better than your last. Today's special celebratory interview episode is with returning guest and at this point, honestly, honorary co-host of the show, Maurice, who wants to talk about, his successfully fundraised and completed Kickstarter for his photo book Ganbatte, and to allow all of us a chance to, catch up and discuss our most recent trips to Japan and maybe possibly some plans for the future. Welcome, Maurice, once again, my friend.
Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to be here and speak with you.
It is, buddy. It is. Thank you so much again for, setting aside time today to join all of us and hang out once again. We've already been talking. We went to go start early just to get ourselves started. And I think we've been talking for about 30, 40 minutes before we even started record. So it's good. It's good. We're here though now. But before we get going with today's show, where can listeners go to answer any additional questions they may have? If it comes to anything we've talked about today or even, future things.
Well, you can find Ganbatte, the photo book on Facebook, and you can also see my Ganbatte, the photo book Instagram page as well. So very easy to find. If you search up the title for Ganbatte plus my name, it'll pop up all those places.
Well, that's excellent. And I know we've discussed, a lot of different things in our previous episodes, and you can just go through and look for those yourself too. But if you can, one thing I'd like to just a real quick, brief something about yourself. If somebody's stumbling across this for the first time, hasn't listened to anything else, or maybe one of your Kickstarters that got the book, looked at everything, and they're finally see this email that says, this talk's coming out, and they're joining us. Could you just share a little bit about yourself, my friend?
My name is Maurice. I'm a filmmaker, photographer-ish. I'm getting better with it every day. Writer. Also, I have a dual career as a very boring corporate guy. But I'm a Japan enthusiast, like probably all of you are. I've been there probably about half a dozen times or so now at this point. I will be traveling back in about a month's time for another 2 weeks to just kind of explore and try to think of more creative ideas. And that's about it. I'm a big fan of Japan, the culture, a lot of the country's offerings, the people that I've met there, the people that I've met because of a mutual interest. And feel free to reach out to me and just chop it up and shoot the breeze.
One other thing I'd like to is just, I wanted to ask, I've been, we've been talking back and forth. You've been keeping me updated the whole time. What does it feel like now for you, having reached your goal and successfully fundraised your own project, but now also to have fulfilled those orders and you can officially say, hey, I've completed my first Kickstarter. What does that mean to you, man? How do you feel right now?
Well, first and foremost, I would like to say thank you to everyone who supported the project. Would not have been possible without each and every one of you, and that includes you, Michael. Really, the belief in the project and the people that connected with it, willing to open up their wallets to something that they had not seen before, something that did not exist yet, and trusting me to take their funds and follow through, and trusting that I had a quality body of work, and then B, I had made the proper connections with other businesses and manufacturers to create it, and then finally getting those books in my home, and then the trust to fulfill all of them. That's a lot of trust from point A to point Z, and to know that there was this overwhelming amount of support there, I am blown away, and I'm bubbling with gratitude from way before the first day I launched it to right now. I'm still extremely grateful. It still feels like it's not real. But if you go in my living room, there are some books there that says all of it is real and people believed in you. And here now is the finished product, and it feels amazing, absolutely amazing.
Well, anybody that's listening to this, I can say when I went to back Maurice, I did it right away, and I did the digital version of it at first, and then I was quick to change my mind and add on that physical copy of the book as well. And I would say if you come across this and you hear talks of other things, or him doing it again, you definitely could do the digital only means, and I understand that. We got space, you got waste, you got everything that you could have in life, but let me tell you, holding that physical media in your hand just brought it to a completely different level for me. So it was outstanding, my friend. Outstanding.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
What are some lessons that you've learned from doing this project? Because I'm sure it wasn't completely, flawless the whole time, but were there anything particular points that stick out to you?
So a couple things, and this isn't good or bad, but well, there are things that you don't want to happen, right? So there were several times where people would pledge a certain amount, and they would either reduce their pledge or just cancel it outright. And but that's just the nature of the game. And I think we all been in the position where we get a little too excited and we like commit to something. We're like, oh, wait a second, I can't commit to this right now. There were a couple people who canceled and wrote me very nice emails like, hey, look, I can't do this right now. The numbers aren't the math isn't mathing, and they're like, but please, good luck, and I wish you all the best with your project. That still feels great, even though the number was reduced. And with Kickstarter being all or nothing, it's one of those situations where it's just like, how many more people are going to cancel or reduce, and will I still make it? And obviously I made it and then some, but that's in the back of your mind when you wake up and you see that cancellation notification. That's a little disheartening, but at the same time, you still have to really take stock in the fact that so many other people still believe in it. Or
Yes.
even if the person had to reduce their amount for whatever reason, they're still on board. That still feels really, really good. Um, but at the end of the day, that doesn't really matter because the project was successful. So that's just food for thought down the road, right? As far as pain points, don't trust Kickstarter's shipping estimator. I got eaten alive with that. Not so much domestic. Domestic was fine, but international, that ate me alive, and I ate a lot of costs regarding international shipping. Um, Also, the calculator doesn't really mention because of Brexit. A lot of these countries now have land taxes or VAT taxes, where just to get it delivered to them, there's an additional fee that they have to pay when they go and get it. And so that upset me a bit because it's just like these people have already given me money. I'd hate to hear that they have to pay even more money just to get the book in their hand. So that was a learning experience. And then also in the future, if I were to do something like this again, I would probably include some verbiage saying, hey, look, I'm sorry to do this, but if your country has VAT taxes upon delivery, you're on your own.
Yes.
And some of them are not cheap. I know for one country, I forget what they are specifically, but one was like $15 to accept the book on top of postage. And then another one was like $28 to just get the book in their hand,
Okay.
that they had to pay upon delivery. That sucks, because my goal was I wasn't trying to get rich off this, right? I have a regular income. That it wasn't the money. It was what can I do this to get this in people's hands for a reasonable price where they could take a chance on an unknown photographer. I'm extremely grateful for them that they took it upon themselves. They're aware of these VAT taxes and still went through with it. But it still upset me because I didn't know about these until I got to the post office. And they're like, oh, by the way, to deliver this, when they get it, there's going to be another $25 fee. And I'm like, well, can I pay that? A couple of times I was like, can I pay that? And they're like, no, you can't pay it. They have to pay it. And that was upsetting.
Yeah.
And then finally, I think that there were quite a few books that went to Australia. And I've shipped out, well, first, I've shipped off all the books a month ahead of time. So to get it done ahead of schedule feels good. But a few books went to Australia, and the only reports I got of damaged books were from Australia.
Okay.
That sucked. Because then it's just like, well, what do I do? They write to me, and they're all really chill about it. No one was mean to me about it. They're like, hey, look, the book arrived damaged, and I'm like, well, the shipping cost was over twice what I paid you or what I charged you, so I can't really send you another book because do you want to pay $60 to get this thing shipped to you? No, of course you don't, right?
Right.
And then both of them, I reached out and I said, hey, look, how about I give you like, a certain percentage of refund for the damages.
Yes.
And so far, no one has taken me up on that, but I do want to make it right because I didn't send it to them damaged, but they didn't pay for a damaged book, right?
Right.
And that hurts my heart because whenever I pictured people owning this book, I thought of it as like a point of pride on their shelf or on their coffee table that they would want to show people, right? This damaged book that got tossed around in Australia, that sucks, because again, the only pain points I've been told about thus far has been Australia. Like, I don't know what happens once it gets to the land down under. They just start chucking the books around. They're just doing backbreakers on them. But that hasn't happened anywhere else. I've sent books to Germany, France, Spain, the US, Canada. Like I've sent books all over the place, like literally all over the place. I think Brazil as well. Only Australia they came, Japan as well. Only in Australia they came back damaged, and that really really sucks. But again, they were really polite. Everyone was really chill. No one came at me awkwardly or whatever. And if they do get back to me saying, "Hey, look, I will take you up on that partial refund," I'll send it to them immediately.
Yeah. That's, man, like, I'm proud of you though, like, for everything that's come through. And like you said, you're looking just to get it out there, and you're also, I'm sure at the same time, not looking to, like, it's like lessons learned. You haven't done it before. And you'd hope that Kickstarter would actually have something out. If somebody's buying from these areas that have these things, you think they would almost have like a little pop-up that says, hey, you're backing a project that's here. Please be aware, like that you're going to have like some additional cost or things that are coming your way. But I think the way you handle it, I couldn't ask for more, especially with that. With all of that you have, like, what are some positives for you that have come out of doing this project, my friend?
Oh, a ton. I'd say overwhelmingly it's been positive. Um, I've gotten pictures of people posing the book with their animals. I've got pictures of people taking photos with stickers that I sent a few people. Um, I have, just really strong words of encouragement. There was one gentleman who was a professional photographer himself, and I was actually worried what he would say. And he got it, and he was like, "It's gorgeous, it's beautiful," and that was like a weight off my chest. Even one of the people in Australia who got a damaged book, they're like, "Hey, man, the book is damaged, but these photos are gorgeous." And I'm like,
You're like, yes.
I'm like, that's awesome. I'm so sorry. Please take some money back. Um, the positives, also, just the belief that you can do this. I never thought that this was going to be like a $80,000 Kickstarter. No, I just like, if people get it across the line, that's beautiful, right? The fact that it got the Projects We Love badge from Kickstarter themselves, that was a huge plus. That felt really, really great. I got a partial scholarship for minority creators. That was not a ton of money, but hey, look, some money from, it's great. It's great. And it's interesting because, like, if you look at Kickstarter's platform, there are a few things that are overwhelmingly successful, like tech devices, board
Yes.
games, comic books, and things like that. And a lot of times, a lot of the creators look the same. That's fine. That's just the nature of the beast. But one thing that Kickstarter did, and they sent me some literature, they were like, hey, look, we recognize that whenever creators deviate from that, the chances of their success drops exponentially, right? And it's probably just a networking thing, right?
Yep.
But they're like, well, we're aware of this. We want to make Kickstarter an equitable platform, so we're going to give you a little bit of help, and that's amazing. That's amazing, amazing, amazing. But I'm glad that I got that. But at the same time, the community and Kickstarter came through for me.
Yes.
So it felt great twofold that Kickstarter as an entity was aware of the challenges that people may face, and then also the users that they've cultivated is an open-minded and welcoming community that they're going to support you if they like the project anyway, and that's really, really fucking cool. I
Yeah.
appreciated that a lot. Also, just people, friends, and family supported the book. That felt amazing. The text, that's great. A friend of mine from college, she sent me a picture of her parents looking at the book, and that was really, really cool. So the positive's been overwhelmingly, like, just I can't put all of it into words. It feels really, really great. And if anything, take it from someone who doesn't really have a social media following. Like, I know that a lot of people feel that they can't do something unless they have tons and tons of followers. My personal Instagram account has 200 followers. I only follow 100 people. I don't really use Facebook, and the Facebook page that I use for this book only has like 500 or 600 followers. Like, you don't need this massive following. I know a lot of people are like, well, I need to wait till I get like 10,000 or 20,000 or 30,000. No, you don't, because that may never happen. But what you
Yes.
can do is create now, get it in front of people's eyes, and they connect with what you're creating. People will trust you. If you come through and you're genuine and they believe in it, if you believe in it and they can tell that you believe in it, they'll believe in you, and they'll coalesce around you, and they'll definitely support your stuff if they like it. They will. They will. They will.
And that interaction with people too, that you have, when you build it that way, I think you can have such a more meaningful experience than something that's just a something that happens that catches fire for that brief moment, and you get a ton of people, and that can drop off. But like you work through little by little, keep on adding to what you have, and I'm like you're gonna have people. I think, Maurice, like I know I will, regardless of us ever talking again. If you became rich and famous, come out with another book, I'm still gonna be behind you on that book, and I know that I'm not the only one for that. I know that's
Yes.
not going to be the case, You're
Yes.
like, no, no, no. So,
Well, I definitely appreciate that.
Maurice, I know we talk back and forth all the time, and we've both kind of shared some, goals of ours or different dreams that we have. But do you have any future plans at the moment, for another project? And like, is that going to be something that would be focused on Japan again, some other area? I don't care, honestly, my man, as long as I get to see more of your photos. But I'm kind of crossing my fingers for more Japan things, just selfishly. But do you have like any more plans for things coming up?
So right now I have some ideas about another book in the future. But the first thing I would do first is do it backwards. I would look into the logistics of delivering that book and then fitting the I guess the idea around that. Like, for instance, I probably would go with soft cover in the future to make it cheaper for everybody, cheaper for
Yes.
manufacturing, cheaper for shipping. I'd also give it a smaller, I guess, size or profile, because I'm sure you noticed whenever you lay the book out, it's big. Like, it's, if you lay it out on the table, it's long, right? Um, I would probably make a book that's a bit more compact but more pages. less negative space. So maybe the images take up the entire page. So you're still getting the same size image, but the negative space has been reduced. I'd probably do something like that. As far as content goes, so you know me, I'm not really the biggest cyberpunk fan when it comes to
It's what
representing Japan.
it's one of your few faults that you have in life. But yeah, we'll keep on going, Maurice. We'll keep on going. You can't be perfect, buddy. You can't be perfect.
No, I appreciate that. I appreciate you being open-minded about that. So when it comes to displaying Japan or Tokyo in this cyberpunk kind of aesthetic, I think that that's misleading. But I do think that there are places where we can kind of embellish or profile the technologically advanced profile of Tokyo or Japan, and kind of like juxtapose that with the humanity, because I feel like too often whenever people dive deep into this whole cyberpunk thing, it's completely devoid of people. It's just
Yes.
like the back of people's heads, and then you color grade it super purple, super red, super green, super orange, and I feel like that's not really the way to do it, because in my opinion, the second you get out of like Tokyo Station, you're like, this doesn't look like anything that I saw in this book or this thing. It doesn't
Yeah.
look like that,
Yep.
Um, and so also for so many people to be so focused or be in such love with Japan as a country, why are so many of these cyberpunk projects so distanced from the actual people that live there? Like I'm not talking about models and cosplay with like visors and stuff like that. I'm talking about, is there a way for you to include the actual citizens of this, so this makeup of this fever dream of Tokyo technology, like they're one and the same. Like how do you have the city that exists but exclude the people that created it, right? So if I were to have an idea, it would try to be like this marriage between the older tech side of Tokyo, Japan, married with the people and the citizens that created it, because of course they influence one another.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
not us as tourists who are influencing that, right? It's the people that live there. And so many of these projects, the people are absent, and that's probably, I feel like, is a tremendously missed opportunity. And if I had the funds and the time and the freedom to do it, and the connections, because you need connections, I would like to try something like that in the future.
Outstanding, my friend. Outstanding. Is there anything else that you'd like to talk about in regards to Kickstarter before we, kick things off and kind of go into talking about our times in Japan?
Kickstarter is a wonderful platform. Please go on there regularly, and not just for me, but search out things that you enjoy, that you connect with, that you feel like maybe those needs, are those creative curiosities are not being met. Because I'm willing to bet you that there is someone on Kickstarter, either currently or in the past, who has created something that fits in your interest. I promise you. And a lot of the Kickstarter profiles always stay up. So even if you missed the campaign, a lot of the creators have now updated the profiles of the campaigns with links to buy the product after it's been made, and a lot of that stuff is still available, because for some of them, Kickstarter was only the first step of many steps. It wasn't just the one and done. And so going on there and searching for things that you like could only be the beginning of someone's creative or professional journey that now is flourishing, but they initially got their start on Kickstarter. So don't feel shy about going and looking for stuff. There are plenty of things where I've looked and I missed the campaign, but I go to the person's page and they still have stuff for sale. I'm like, well, let me buy that now.
Yes.
And I don't have to wait 7 months for it.
Yes. You're like, I get it now.
I get it now. That's really, really cool. But really, it's a platform to really just breed creativity. I know that there are certain types of things that overwhelmingly get most of the money, but don't let that dissuade you. Like if you care about your stuff, it's worth a try. It really is. Do your research, do some homework, start small if you don't have a huge following or a backing, and then just go for it.
Like it, my friend. I like it. Okay, Maurice. Now on to Japan. Japan itself, and kind of our time. And then I know you brought up some things to talk about, and I'm kind of glad you did, because I don't know that I could make a whole episode about some of the things that you brought up as far as like, news and things like that. That's the hook for you to listen, even further in our talk today. But, um, but let's start off. I think a great place to start, though, sometimes, my friend, is the ending, and have both of us kind of share some of their post Japan insights, from our trips, man.
All right, so first things first, what are some of the highlights of your last trip?
Getting to see my son go off on his own and hop on a Shinkansen and go to a concert and meet people at that concert in a completely different city that I've not been to, and him make friends at the show, him successfully get into the show, get his ticket. No English help. You know what I mean? Like no English, conversation, anything that's here. Him trying to figure out that they're trying to charge him for drinks that he wasn't having, but like knowing that they actually had that drink tax, like, hey buddy, you're here to see the show, but you got to pay for these drinks whether or not you have him. Him working through all of that and leaving with this love of the country that didn't, like, his biggest compliment to me as a dad was him being in Japan, and although things were different, that like some of the things were different than what he thought it would be, him being raised, like from him being an infant to him being a 22-year-old man now with his dad, he's like, Dad, like everything that we've been I've been exposed to, and on my own or through you, like led me to come to Japan and actually experience what I thought I was going to experience. And that to me, man, was like, out of anything in the trip, was like a huge to think that, because you can go places and you're let down, you go places and it's, more that you have, but like to have that be your expectation and go through was huge. Being able to catch baseball games with him, being able to go meet with my friends in Osaka, for the guys, Matt and David, Japan 2.0, and sitting there recording out in a field with them, sharing like a moment, like through connections, meeting with you in Tokyo, and us, having to avoid rats and having, meals that probably like you wouldn't expect to have in Tokyo, and like all these connections, man, that I keep on having. And now coming out the other side of stuff when we got back home, besides not flying Air Canada again, the like coming out the other side and my son wanting to go back to Japan and do a semester to study some language, and me already making plans for my return trip to meet with some other people that are doing buddy, like I keep on falling more and more in love with this country, with the connections that I'm making, and I keep on finding more that I want to go do. I need to live like two lifetimes probably to like, to legitimately to go do what you want to do. I don't know that answers the question, my man, without it being my ADD scattershot, but like I couldn't have asked for the trip to go better than like really what it did. Really what it did, man.
Just to hop in here real quickly, when you're like, my son is coming, my kid is coming, and someone who doesn't have kids and someone who is not exactly particularly well versed in hanging out with kids, I was thinking, well, what is this going to be like? But upon meeting your kid, it's very immediately noticeable that he is your son. Like you just, it.
Yeah,
And then also on top of that, it's immediately noticeable how well adjusted and independent he is. I don't know what the hell you did, but you did right. So keep it up, because really, like your kid's in a different country that's completely foreign to the United States. And just like you said, because he wandered off on his own after you and I were kind of chilling out, and he was completely in his groove. There was no hesitation. There was no anxiety. He knew that he's got this.
Yep.
And that was instantly recognizable. And that was really, really cool. Very, very impressive. So, I know that speaks to him, but it also speaks to you and your talent as a dad. And I just got to give you some credit there. Great job. You got a good kid.
Yeah.
He's very cool. He's not annoying at all.
You know, it was hard for him growing up, but there was some payoff. He was like, it's, you know, we were talking recently. He's like, it's funny, Dad, you know, like all this time growing up where I was kind of like embarrassed at times. And I'm like, that comes with growing up. But he's like, now everybody's into everything that you were into and I was into this whole time. And I'm like, that's it, son. Just they'll catch up. Don't worry. It really does, man. But I appreciate it, buddy, because it was cool to see. And then, you know, it changes your life if you can just get out to a different place, like a different country, have that experience, and it opens up so many doors to you. And like he has his own friends, you know what I mean? Like he has his own contacts, he has his own things, and you have another reason to return again. And I know with you, man, like I'm so jealous. I want to go in November again, and I am already looking at like, hey man, maybe I can go this summer and then do a super quick turnaround if airfare is like, you know, drops even more, and I can go for November, fly into like Osaka, get into Hiroshima, and just sit there, you know, like for 5-6 days and enjoy myself, and then fly back home. Man, I'm so jealous with that. That just everything with you. Having done that, like listening about like what is your moments, my friend, for your most recent trip.
Oh, so first off, let me just piggyback off of some of the stuff that you said. So obviously, you and I, prior to this trip, we'd never met in person before, right? And just through the magic of technology and just a mutual love of a place and a culture, or just interest in general, it was very cool just how quickly the world got super small and you and I were able to meet in person.
Yes.
You know, just here you go. I'm right here. And I'm like, okay, I'm 20 minutes away. And then I walk in this restaurant and there you are sitting there, you know, and that was, it demonstrates just how small the world is, but also how cool and how connected we are. And that was a really cool highlight. That was really, really awesome. Just these little small things that really just show you just how connected we are. And I never take that stuff for granted because, you know, there are connections that we make with people around the globe who we'll never see in our lifetimes.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
But it was quite the highlight that we made that work and we met up and we hung out, had a cool meal. I got to meet your son. That was very, very cool. Like I said, he's a great guy. That was really awesome. Also, another highlight of mine was really getting away from Tokyo. Like I went all the way to Fukuoka. I was like, I'm getting out of here. You know, I'm getting out of here. Fukuoka was awesome. Hiroshima was also awesome. I was there 2 days before the 78th anniversary. So as people were starting to collect and kind of like, I don't know, ponder their memories or their insights at the site, that was really, really interesting. It was really, really cool. I had 2 conversations with 2 separate Japanese men about the relationship with America and how they want it to stay strong and they want us to remain allies and in good standing for the future. I was in a restaurant that the hotel staff had recommended to me, and you know, a Japanese dude, probably in his 70s, he was like, "Do you drink sake?" And I'm thinking, "Hell yeah,
Yeah, I do."
And he was like, he was like, Japan and America have to stay brothers. And, you know, we toasted and we had a little cup of sake in like the little like wooden box, you know?
Yes, yes.
And that was really cool. And because if you go, because I've been to Vietnam before as well, and they do not have that same kind of feeling when it comes to their relationship with America. They just don't feel the same way, and rightfully so, right?
Yep.
And so the fact that here was this old dude who clearly was probably the anniversary is on his mind. I'm obviously an American. I'm fat, like I've got like long hair, and I talk too loud. And it's like, oh, that's an American. Let me break bread with him. But no, the fact that he reached out to me unprovoked, with kindness and with wisdom, that was really cool. I'll never forget that because he didn't have to do that. And because he bought me sake, I tried to buy his meal, and he wouldn't let me. He wouldn't let me buy his meal.
Yeah, yeah.
And then we took a photo together, and then I went about my business. But that was really, really cool, and I'll always remember that. Yeah, that was a really, really strong highlight of my trip. And just traveling around, meeting with friends, getting out of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
That was another one. And yeah, trip of a lifetime. Absolutely a trip of a lifetime.
Love it, bud. Love it.
All right, I got a question for you.
Go for it, buddy. Go for it.
Anything that you wish went better during the trip?
Yes. I will say that even though I've traveled to Japan a number of times and I've gone with groups, like, with a group of friends before, I would say that there are some times where I would definitely recommend having separate rooms and not sharing a space. Like, even if you have an Airbnb that has bedrooms, you're still sharing a space. And this is my own personal opinion of things, but like when you first arrive in Japan, I think you need your own space. And I think you need your own space when you're about to leave, just to give you that moment to kind of like decompress. You can go eat together, you can go do some stuff, but having that own space is one thing that I wish I would have done better. Because like it does, like when that trip out to Japan from the States is not a fun one. It is not enjoyable. Right. And by the time you get to where you're going, none of you are in a good mood. You know what I mean? And that's if they don't lose your luggage. You're not delayed. You get the train. You find where you're supposed to be. If everything goes well, you're still not going to be like in the best of minds as you go through. That is one thing that I wish I would have done a little better. And then the only other thing that I would say for me was that sometimes when you travel with others, you can let their input kind of change what you would do normally if you let it. And my advice is, like, if you get to Japan and you have that JR like rail pass, I book all my stuff at the very beginning. Like the second, whatever as soon as I get that pass, I get a couple things and I book my whole trip of, like, even if I don't use it, I can go cancel those tickets. But I booked my whole trip for the whole time I was there. And one of my buddies, like, that went with, had been a few times as well to Japan. And he's like, let's just wait for a little bit later and see where things go. And I was like, I don't know, man. Like, I don't know. Like, he's like, no. It's like, we've been able to do this. And I was like, man, everything I've been hearing, everything I've been talking to, researching is just get your stuff. And I let that change me. And then at the end of the trip, as I'm starting to try to schedule stuff in that last week to go to Fuji or go to places I wanted to go, I couldn't go. Like, because the Shinkansen was booked. It was booked completely. No waiting room, no standing room, no like anything. They wouldn't let me ride on the outside of it. Like, it's just like I couldn't end up doing some of the things I wanted to do, and that was like a definite regret from what I have. So lesson learned, with that stuff. Like sometimes you have to learn lessons a few times in life, and you learn them multiple times. But that's one, like, man, whenever I go back, I'm just going to book my stuff. I don't care if anybody else is traveling with me. You do your own thing. We're all grown-ups. But I'm going to take care of me, as selfish as that sounds, and my enjoyment of my trip, and make sure I have what I want to get what I want out of it. And I am looking forward to do what you did, which is finally I'm not leading a group of people to Japan. And I wouldn't give up going with my son. I'm not saying that, but like I'm just saying, like, I would do that again in a heartbeat, him and I. But I am so looking forward to just going out and doing just stuff I haven't done, and going out to Sapporo, going out to some places that are off the beaten path, possibly getting in a car, renting that stuff, and then going to some places that aren't on a train, aren't accessible by bus, and like going and seeing some parts of Japan that is not Tokyo, not Osaka, not Kyoto. I love those places. They all have something to offer except Tokyo. I mean, no, Tokyo has something to offer, but I don't love it quite that much. You know, there goes all my listeners. They're gone, Maurice. But like I've been so many times now, like that is not on my list to go to. There's so much more that Japan has to offer. So that I would say for me would be that. Did you have anything that you would kind of same thing, wish went better, change about what you did?
So to piggyback off one of your points, I didn't book a lot of my Shinkansen tickets ahead of time, and I absolutely should have. um, I ended up always getting lucky, but it was like, oh, the Shinkansen that's leaving in 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour from now, you can't ride none of those.
Yeah.
They're like, but we have, we have one seat that's right by the back, an hour and a half from now.
Yes.
Hurry up and get it. And that happened quite a few times where I'm thinking, oh, I can just hop on there and just go. Just go.
Yes.
That time is over. The whole revenge tourism and the over tourism thing that you're hearing about on a lot of like news and other content creators, it's absolutely true.
Yep.
There's a ton of people there. There's probably going to continue to be a ton of people there. And from what I understand, pre-pandemic, a large portion of the people that were coming to Japan were from China. And while they've started coming back, they're not all back yet. Once Chinese tourists get back in full swing, combine that with the revenge tourism for the rest of the world, you are not going to want to be there and not booked or pre-booked a lot of your tickets. I got a little taste of that, and I regretted it because it led to me sitting in stations for a couple hours.
Yeah.
Like 3 or 4 times, where if I was booked already, I could have just hopped right in, got to my destination, enjoyed the day for a couple more hours. I missed out on that, and I had to sit in the station and try not to eat my bentos too early, because I didn't think ahead. There's that. I would make a more detailed itinerary as far as where I want to go and how long it takes to get there. I didn't really do that. There are some places in Japan that I should have researched my particular interests. So when I got there, it was a beautiful place, wonderful place. But as far as things that I'm personally into, it wasn't there.
Yes.
So I put a place on my itinerary. I get there and I'm like, this is beautiful. This is gorgeous. This was probably a better fit for one of my friends instead of me.
Yeah.
I should have done more research. So the whole flying by the seat of your pants thing is really fun. There are some downsides to it. And, I don't live there.
Yes.
So putting aside that time and going someplace, that's great, but not great for me. I missed a couple times. So more research, more ideas about, I know that I like to have free form trips, but when your time is limited, you really should be balancing and prioritizing more. And I didn't prioritize in the correct way in a lot of ways, even though I just want to like, oh yeah, I got time. But when you start to run out of time and you're thinking, oh crap, I should have gone that place instead, there is some regret there. You still have a wonderful time, but there's like, I should have shifted this way or that way, and I would just enjoyed it that much more. Other things, know what you don't care about, and know what you do care about. And this goes back to the prioritizing things. You and I talk about YouTube a lot and people covering the same stuff. Don't go to stuff just because it's popular. Go to stuff because you want to go.
Yes.
For most of us, we don't get but maybe a week or 2 or 3 vacation a year. Don't waste an expensive trip at that going and seeing stuff that you in your heart of hearts don't really care about. Isolate, identify the things that make your heart sing. Go see those things first. Please go see those things first. You can get around to the rest of the popular stuff, but go for you first, because the trip is these trips cost too much money.
Yep.
For you to go and do the trip that someone else would do, or do the trip that a YouTuber told you to do. Go do your trip. So that's probably the only thing. Oh,
I
and go ahead. I'm sorry.
one of the things that I think I took away to it from it too is like when you're on vacation, you have some magic that happens. If you were to live somewhere, that same magic doesn't happen. It just doesn't. And
Right.
you make contacts, you meet people, you can end up getting friendships out of that. And one of those is when I was at Fuji, I had a family that has like invited me to come to Taiwan to have show me around. And I'm like I've been keeping in touch, and I fully intend to take them up on that. And it's one of those things, I don't want that to slip by and miss out on that opportunity. But if I hadn't have gotten outside my comfort zone or go to do that time for myself in an area, to piggyback on what you were saying, where I was in a place I wanted to be, I was doing what I wanted to do, and I meet somebody that's doing what they want to do in the place they want to be, and you have that connection. Now I have that chance to go to a country that was not on my radar, as close as to what it is, and have some sort of connection when you're there, to have, hey, I live here, I can help point you in some right directions. And that's huge. That's something I'm not going to let slip by, and I'm thankful for coming from this.
Absolutely, absolutely. So that's going to lead into my next question. What are your plans for your next trip?
Well, as it is right now, with you and others that I've been interviewing on the show, have some loose framework of people that I've interviewed in the past and connections I've had, of actually getting off a train path, getting off the bus path, and really getting into Japan, into some locations that you can only get by car. And doing so with a friend that I have made, through this show, and getting that experience. We're talking about maybe doing like a 2-day, itinerary, and go to some places, see some things, and record some content, for the show while doing so, and doing some things, renting a car, driving in
Mhm.
Japan, doing some things that are way outside my comfort zone. But that is one plan. And then I have Jeff, who does Deep in Japan. I'm going to go up and see him, meet him for the first time in person, and then go back to my favorite place in the world, which is, as of right now, Hiroshima. Go meet my friends that are there, spend some time in their restaurants, and kind of pay back some of their kindness for when my son came. They did so much for them, and that's, I think, a lot of what you can run into when you're in Japan, or just meet good people in general all around the world, right? They go so above and beyond what they needed to. I kind of want to pay them back. So like my one buddy, he has his bar and things that's in Hiroshima, and he's into a group called Alistair, and they're like a group from Chicago, from like, I want to say like the 90s, maybe 2000s. But I was able to find like a signed CD of all the members,
Whoa.
of that had the song. So I was able to find a signed CD that had all the members on it from a signing from Chicago, that I'm going to bring with me, and kind of like present to him and be like, thank you. And then
That's really cool.
yeah, and then like Rock, his mom lives out in that area as well, and he's hard to, like, I don't have something for him where I could just bring him something back that's going to be as meaningful. So I what I want to do is just plan on buying his mom dinner at his restaurant. So like, not only can I give, thanks to her, and thanks to him, I can in a way give him money, but not just handing him, cash. You know what I mean? Like, but like, like, show my thanks, like, because when I'm there, I'm not spending a lot, but I could get her, like, I could spend like 100 or 100 something dollars on a really nice meal for her at his place, and just be like, cool, here we go. Thanks, mom. Thank you, Rock. Like, you both great people. Thanks for all you did for my, my son while he was here. Thanks for what you continue to do to me. That's my, my plans for coming up. And besides, I want to get the Insta 360 camera, the one that's like the size of your thumb. And because that 360 camera, I think that's one of those things I learned in the trip, of which can tie into what we're going to talking to in a little bit. I didn't feel comfortable walking around with the 360 camera. Like, if I was going to use it, I think I would just set it up somewhere and just record. Like, I'm
Mm-hmm.
here, here's some sights, here's some sounds. You can look all around, you can see what you want to in this area. But that was it. If I had something that just kind of clicks to me, that, that's a thumb that I can just walk around with, I'm way more likely to use that in different places. But I found
Mm-hmm.
myself doing so much less video than what I thought I would. And I want to set aside that time to do the audio of just really getting in and recording some different places and getting some sounds and things to share with people that don't get to go. I mean, you're going to have people listening right
Mm-hmm.
now that are never going to be able to go, but like, at least like through your photos, through like the audio I have, like we can provide something to them that they may not have otherwise. And that's really like my goals this time, is I can start pulling some things together, maybe have my own project. You know what I mean? Like, have something that I could do from that as well.
Please do. Please do.
But what about you? I know that your trip is coming up. Like, are you, I'm assuming, going to shoot some photos while you're there as well, but are you going just to enjoy yourself in a different season, or is this just to have, enjoy the country again and see some things you haven't seen?
Well, first and foremost, the trip is to go visit a friend who is actually leaving the country. I have a friend of mine
Okay.
who's from Belgium who has been in Japan for probably 5 years or so, 5 or
Okay.
6 years. And she went to school there, graduated, started working in a job. But the profession that she chose, the actual work, the day to day was not for her.
Okay.
Little too intense. Her balance, her work life balance wasn't great. Plus, the commute was really long. And she said, it's not for me. And I'm sure you're aware of the fact that with the Japanese visas for foreigners, when it comes to work, you have to work in the industry or the realm of your visa. You
Yes.
can't go and get a different type of job. So she tried to make it work. I remember I was talking with someone separate, and I said, "Hey, look," I said, from an outsider looking in, can you explain to me the salaryman culture of working, this many hours or blah 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 or this amount of dedication?" And she goes, "Westerners call it salaryman culture. We just call it work, you know." And so for people that aren't from Japan and aren't accustomed to that level of, I guess, either time or effort into putting into work or just the distance, I could see how it could be abrasive to people that weren't raised on that, right?
Yes. Yes.
And so my friend she's leaving the country, and I said, hey, look, let me see if I can pull some strings, move some money around to see if I can come out there again. It's going to be a diminished trip. It's going to still be like a little over 2 weeks, but I can't go to the wall like I did last time. Like
Yeah.
before, I was like shooting in film and getting it developed every other day. Because digital you can just shoot forever, but with film, each roll costs, each processing costs. If you get it scanned as well, so you have to wait till you get back home, that costs. So, I was probably spending every couple of days $100 or so on film,
Yep.
just in general. And so I'm gonna cut out that expense, or maybe just limit it to probably a ridiculous degree. Focus more on her.
Yes.
Have time and spend time with her. I think that we're gonna go and see Izu. I think it's called.
Okay.
I think it's in Shizuoka, somewhere around there. I think it's like an onsen or a spa town we're gonna go visit. I could be getting that completely wrong. She knows all the details, but I said, hey, look, if this is a place that you've never been before that
Let's
you
go
want
do
to
it.
see, we'll go. And again, it gets me out of Tokyo. It gets me away from. It gets me somewhere else. Um, so that's pretty cool. I would like to go north because I did get a JR pass right before they increased the price. So that was cool. I plan on going north. I want to go to Sendai. I would like to go to Sapporo, but it's gonna be. She's like, it's gonna be cold, bro. Like she's like, you go anywhere, Sapporo, Hokkaido,
Yeah.
whatever,
Yeah.
it's gonna be
Yeah.
super cold. Just prepare for that. So I'll see if I can manage that. But even more days outside of Tokyo. I have an
Yes.
Appa hotel that's like my home base. I have a room the entire time, but that's so cheap that you don't really worry about that. You know, sure, it's a shoebox, but it's not there to impress you, right? Um, and then I think that one more thing that I want to do is splurge. I travel so cheaply, and I like I said, I stay in Appas. I don't. You're gonna hate me. Um, the expensive sushi thing, the expensive
Yeah.
wagyu thing,
Yeah.
I don't really do that on my own. Those are experiences that I save for my friends.
Yes.
Um, because individually they don't speak to me. I like food, but I'm not a food connoisseur. I like a good drink, but I'm not like a sommelier. I just don't care that much. I get more out of the experience with those things with my friends and people that I enjoy. I think while I'm down there with her, I might splurge on a nice meal because I kind of roughed it last time I was there. I didn't mind it, but for someone who's leaving the country, it's like, let's go out with a bang.
Yes.
Let's get
Yes.
that $200 like sushi course. Let's get that $150 wagyu. Let's get it. Because those are things that I would not do on my own.
Yes.
Because I'd rather put the money elsewhere. 150 bucks, $200. That's 3 nights hotel in Fukuoka,
Yep.
in Okinawa. That's how my brain thinks. And whenever I was like making my photo book, I'm like 200, 300 bucks that you're spending on this one hotel room. That's 10 rolls of this type of film, 7 rolls of this type of film, getting it processed 8 times. That's how my brain works. Not
Yep.
do I want to get sushi. So I think I'm going to try to turn that part of my brain off and just indulge with a lot of the country has to offer.
Yes.
Because if I'm by myself, I refuse to do it. I won't do it. So just to lighten up a little bit, splurge a little bit, do a little bit of the good food. Because you got to stop eating onigiri from 7-Eleven. I got to stop doing that.
That chicken though, the chicken's for real. I love it every time I go.
No,
the
it's
curry
beautiful.
chains, noodle chains. It's just like, yeah, I could live off this the whole time I'm there.
It's delicious. It's delicious.
It is. It is.
That's why I never really miss it because like it's interesting because like in America, the cheap stuff tastes like cheap stuff.
Yes.
You know what I mean? But in Japan, because of the focus on quality, you can go cheap and it doesn't feel like you're eating cheap.
Yes.
And that counterpart doesn't really exist in the West like it does there. So, eating good in Japan encapsulates so much, it really, really does. So I'm going to splurge a little bit. That's what I'll do.
And my Park Hyatt, if I find myself in Tokyo, I don't think I will next year, but that Park Hyatt's gotta happen, man. That's my splurge of things where it's like kills me. It's the same thing. I'm like, man, the $600 for this room for a night is, and insert like, all these other things that I could be doing. You and I share that in common, my friend. Let me tell you. So I still haven't pulled that trigger, but I just need to do it. You're worth it from time to time. You can't do it all the time, but take a chance to make
I gotta
that.
step in real quick. The post-pandemic prices, the Park Hyatt is like $800 or $900 a night now.
Yes,
I don't know if you know that.
Buddy, I do. I keep on when I was looking, I was like, I'm telling myself $500, my friend, because I hope you put out good things into the universe, and this is me putting good things into the universe. $500, universe. Listen to me, universe. $500.
Well,
Yeah.
I think that if you were to book one night right now for your next trip, you might be able to get it for $450. But you gotta book it right now, 7-8 months out.
Yes. And even some of the airfare prices have come down a bit, compared to when we went. Like I was looking at ANA for next summer, and they had like a $1,500 round trip ticket from Chicago to Japan during the summer. But what I don't have the funds right now to begin with, but like what kind of is stopping me from doing that and not spending the 2,000 again, or a little over $2,000 that I did last time, is that they didn't have like a automatically assigned seat. You know what I mean?
Ooh,
so it's
right.
like if you pay that $1,500, you're gonna be logging into the app and trying to grab a seat. but who knows where that will be. And if I'm not on an aisle, my friend, I'm going to need to be like, there's going to be something, man. They're going to have somebody come on and be like, here, we're going to knock you out now, and we'll wake you back up when you get to Japan. So for me, I wish I could just, be in that, up against the window, or be okay being between two people, for the trip, and not have that like impact me as much as it does. But man, it sure does. So we'll see. Hopefully the prices keep on going down. Back to more like when, man, I like 2017 when I went, was like $800 something round trip. And I know we're not there yet. I still think we're like, a couple years away from like, prices really dropping once people stop hate traveling. Like hate tourism, hate, all that stuff is there. Once that finally comes to that things, I think we'll get back to more of those things. And that's why I kind of pushed my trip with my daughter off for like a few years, where I'm like, you know what, I'm going to go this summer, and then I'm going to aim for 3 years out for her and I to go, which means I might have a gap, in my travel to Japan a bit as I'm saving up to go. She's worth it. But like, I'm just, part of me is just holding out like, please, prices come down where I can at least shoot off, go to Hiroshima, have that be my whole trip, and fly back home. Like, I don't need to be wild and crazy, but just being able to see the people that you want to see, it'd be huge, man. It's huge.
Sounds good. All right, so moving along, I wanted to ask you about your content plans for your next trip.
I said, for me, I think it's going to be that big portion is like having that 2-day trip with Peter and I are talking to end up going to do that pulling that off and having that be kind of like my day trip talk, like maybe a transition into something to where it's not me doing the whole day and talking like what I have, but maybe getting some sounds from those areas while I'm there, recording some talk maybe in the car, out when we're out in different areas, and really pull something together that I haven't heard elsewhere. You know what I mean? Besides, on YouTube, you can find some of these things, but not necessarily a, podcast, that has that thing. And then I really, man, just want to record as much sound from Japan as I can from everywhere, and just have that be something that I can share with people, that they can sit there and listen to cicadas. They can listen to the laundromat. They can listen to the train. They can listen to the station. They can listen to people walking around and just be immersed in Japan without actually being there. That's like my main, thing that I want to start pulling out of each time I go, is just adding a little bit more to that.
Right on. Like a nice little library of sounds. That's really, really cool.
Because you never know what's going to happen to you, and like what's going to happen with your ability to travel or just life in general. But man, having my own little stash of stuff, like if you hit a point in life where you're like, I can't travel as much as I can, or I can't do that, flight anymore, being able to pull that stuff out, no matter how many years later that is, to go back through and look at a photo in your case, or listen to some sound in mine, and be taken back there without having to be back there, is like, that's something I really want.
That's really, really cool. Let's see. As far as my content plans, like I said, I'm still like forming an idea, like the bones of an idea. But as far as collaborations go, because I do want to place a higher emphasis on people that live and work and thrive there.
Yes.
I think that this time around, if I were to do another project, I would like to include older people, like people who are around my age or older, maybe even some senior citizens, because it's interesting to me, like, because Japan is such a super aged country, so many people are older, it feels incorrect to not include those people that are very much the face of this country. So I would like to do that. People who aren't so focused on internet personas or internet followers or followings and things like that. Just people living their life. If I can find a way to include those people and say, hey, look, this is something meaningful that I'm trying to do. I want to be genuine. Do you want to kind of lend yourself to this? I would love to do that. Yeah, I would like that, because you spoke to Robert. Robert is a very unique guy. and even Paul, the dude in the suit who's out in Yokohama. He's an interesting guy, and he's a bit older than I am. Robert is probably my dad, and my if my dad were still alive, he'd probably be about Robert's age at this point. So that I felt like was a really big highlight of my book. If I could expand upon that to some degree for a future project, I would love to do that.
Because we could save some of that. I've been thinking about that too recently, like where it's like I'd love to be able to interview some people that had those experiences in the 80s, had those
Right,
experiences in the 70s, and put that into some sort of format that isn't lost.
right.
When they go, like there wasn't the internet, there wasn't the YouTubes, there wasn't the things to record a lot of this stuff in, and to lose that is just yeah, like just do anything you can to pull that back. That'd be huge. Like I want to talk to my dad when I go out to visit him next. I'd like to talk to him about his time with Bridgestone and his time in Japan, and what that was like at that point in time, to pull anything that he remembers still from that time and just be like, hey, let's record it. Let's save
That's
something
awesome.
from this, and this moment in time, because I can't speak to it. Like I can't speak to it, but I'd love to share that with as many people as possible. So man, I can't wait to see it. I'm already waiting in line. My tent is out in front of the Kickstarter ticket office, and I will be right there when you're going again. Like, how long you been waiting for Star Wars? They'll be like, how long you been waiting for Maurice's book? Like, what are you here for?
All right. Well, moving on. Thank you, by the way, because please just buy my stuff.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
um, but moving on, how are you, I guess, ingesting or absorbing all the news about the troublesome streamers in Japan from your perspective as someone who also makes content about Japan?
No, I have been, and I cringe all the time to begin with. Like when you're out and about there and you run into people, you travel how you want to travel. I'm not going to fault you for that, but like to go somewhere and know nothing about where you're going and not being in a tour group. Like if you're going to do that, go in a tour group and know like they're going to take me around. They're going to show me what I need to. They're going to give me some feedback and say, hey, don't do these things or try not to do these things. When you're in the train, don't be loud. Don't be, just don't be that person. You know what I mean? And so like I already have that to where I'm like, when you go to a restaurant already and you're turned away, or you go to an establishment and you're turned away, or you go to interact with somebody and you're kind of like I'm not gonna like even give you the time of day. It's not me, you know what I mean? Like it's not anything I've done, but it's those experiences those people have had previously that have gotten them to that point in time.
Right.
So that was already there. And like part of what I wanted to do this show for is to be like, hey, please listen, do your own research, take what I'm saying. I'm not like perfect in what I'm doing, but take the time to do this, listen to me, listen to other people, and go there and represent everyone as well as you can so that more people are open to us and continue to remain open to us. And but to hear what's going on in Japan with like Johnny Somali and all those other people, like, and it's not just Japan. It's all over the world. It's the US, it's Canada, it's Germany, it's like Europe, it's everywhere that you have these people that are going and putting forth a content that is, I'm going to ride a train across the country and take advantage of the goodwill of a country and its people and not pay. And not only am I not paying, I'm getting paid to not pay my way through these things. And every person that person comes across is getting a negative view of the next foreigner that comes through, and to hide out in a restroom and just like I'm sick, I'm sick, I'm sick. The next person that is actually sick, in that thing, and not able to show them, like, you are creating so many different things to do like what? You know what I mean? Like I did stupid stuff too. Like I continue to do stupid stuff, Maurice. But like that is like one consistent I have in my life. But to do something that impactful, like I wanted to thank you like when you brought it up, because it's just like, and then to do things where you're gonna go on a woman's only train and get up in people's faces, or you're purposely trying to annoy people and cause a scene to get a reaction from these people, like anywhere in the world. I don't care where you are. Chicago, if you're in, if you're in Japan, if you're in those things, like I believe that what goes around comes around eventually. You may not always have it be as soon as you want, like, want it to be, or, stuff that's there, but it will come back to you. And if you're putting that negativity out into the world, like, it's just, it's going to come back to you. And right now, like, Johnny Somali is in Japanese prison, and he had his, he was rearrested, not let go, 28 days passed, and I'm still in prison, like, going through, and I'm sure that he regrets in some way, shape, or form kind of doing what he was doing. And I hope it's a deterrent to others, because there's already that thing of like, we need to charge a tourist tax. We need to start limiting the amount of people that can go into these areas. We need to limit this, charge this, pay this, block this off, protect ourselves. And that's before all this stuff is going on. Like, please don't take away this place from others, for your own selfish means. And that
Right.
to me is like the biggest, like, just crime of the whole thing. I just, that's why, like, when I did my haunted Japan episode, I didn't talk about Suicide Forest. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not
I
going to be
remember you
somebody.
mentioned that. You're like, if you're looking for this, it's not here.
Not here, man. Like, I'm not looking to do this. Like, this isn't something I'm going to look money off of, like, or I'm not making money off this to begin with, but I'm not looking to get followers or clicks because of talking about something like that. It's just not me.
Right.
And to each their own. But man, to me, it makes me sad, because I want to move there eventually. I want to be able to live there for a while. I want to be able to return. I want listeners of the show to go and have the best experience they can have and not run into negativity because of these people that are now being put all through the news there. They're all through news channels. And that this is now up front in everybody's face for this period of time. And I wonder how that's going to impact. Like, luckily I'm an audio format, right? I can at least do some things to where I can record audio and do some stuff. And I may not be as impacted as somebody else that's going to Japan on vacation with their camera and their video camera and their other stuff, to where you're looking to do this stuff. But that impacts what you can do. But man, it just makes me sad to, like, that this is where we're at. And I just can't hope that we, as just a group everywhere in the world, can move past this content. And like, if you are somebody that is consuming this content, please think twice. And you may think that you're, one person out of whatever hundreds of thousands of views that this thing's getting, it doesn't count. But man, it does. And if Japan is something that matters to you, if it's something important to you, all I could ask is for you to unfollow and not support anybody that's doing anything this. And if you feel comfortable enough of just like, non-interaction is probably the best thing, but because there's so many things that are in there, but just like, don't support it, man. Just as much as you can. That's why, like, I'm glad I don't have to do a whole episode on this. This is, like, this is a brief little bit that's here. But like, I just don't want to give any more time to any of these people, because it's just like, but it's something that does need to be, talked about. Like, do you think this is going to impact you, Maurice? Like, when it comes to your photography or things, or because you're not doing like necessarily like a video format, that you might have a better time with things?
I really don't know. I really don't know. I know that I'm a kind of a boomer on this, so you'll have to excuse me. I'm kind of a grumpy old man about this, because I really feel like Japan was too kind
Yes.
to Logan Paul when he did that stuff.
Yep.
I think that they really like, you know, the Gaijin card, you get the foreigner pass. I think they let him slide with that, and I think that it opened the door for people like Johnny Somali and people like this person on the train, the Shinkansen. Um, I think that if they would have nipped it in the bud, and you know, not saying be cruel, but you know, like you mentioned, in Japan they can hold you for like 29 days and not charge you, and you don't necessarily have access to your lawyer. They can do that. They're doing it to Johnny Somali right now. I think that if, as someone who is high profile as Logan Paul, because Johnny Somali is not a celebrity, he's just
Yep.
this dude that's made his name by being an asshole. Um, Logan Paul was a celebrity already. He should have known better. And the fact that he got to slide with it, and it got him huge numbers,
Yes.
massive numbers. I think if anything, it made him more of a household name after that. And he just got to come back to the United States, do a fake apology, and you know his star has not diminished since then, right? um, Him going abroad and being a complete jerk has not crippled or diminished or harmed his celebrity or his income ability at all. Um, and so that those lack of repercussions, really just this momentum that it created, I think it did breed these people that are now doing this, and that's unfortunate. They should have come down on him hard. Like, no, you don't come to Japan and do this. You know, we're not that passive, right?
Yes,
You
yes.
know?
Yeah, even if you just
But
like held, like even if there were no charges that ended up coming from
right,
anything, even if you just held him for, you know, 2 months, and
right,
you know, it's to show something that's like, hey, you're gonna sit here, you're not gonna enjoy yourself for this
right,
time. Here's some definite consequence. You may not have been charged with things, but hey, you're you're gonna regret like having done this. You know, like
right,
time out, man. You needed time out, at least if nothing
right.
else.
And outside of celebrities, a person like Logan Paul could maybe sit out from his life for 2 months,
Yes.
right? Because he's wealthy.
Yep.
A regular person, or you or I, if we just did not have any income coming in for 3 months, 4 months, 5 months,
Devastated.
we're probably in a heap of trouble.
Yes.
Um, so I think that it would dissuade and prevent regular people from thinking about it even for a second. Like, hey,
Yes.
look, they will arrest me and hold me, and I'll probably lose my job. My parents will know where I'm at. Any kind of bills, pets, whatever, those are all being put in jeopardy because I wanted to like stupid for a couple of likes. Hopefully now with the Johnny Somali thing, this is going to set that precedent of, hey, look, don't come here and fool around. Um,
Because
as
you
far
still,
as how it's going to, go ahead. I'm
because you
sorry.
still have people right now that are like running around doing stuff. You know what I mean? Like, and it's just like, man, it's just, I hope in some way, shape, or form for some of this, when you get to be as egregious as you are, to just be like, you're kicked out. Like, you can't come
Right,
back. You're flagged.
right,
Done. Like, we're
right,
going to hold you, and you may not be charged and served long term prison fines, but you can't ever come back. That, I think, with that prison, like, you know, with some sort of like time where you're stuck there doing that, like, that might give something to where you're like, I can't ever go back to this place again, you know, compounded with other stuff, maybe, you know, but because like when I was there, like I want to do anything but get me to where I can't go back to my my favorite place in the world,
absolutely,
you know.
absolutely, 100%.
Yeah.
No, and it's foolishness because it's not worth it. There's so many perks and benefits and just wonderful experiences of being able to travel through Japan. Why put it at jeopardy? Why risk it? It's not worth it. Um, and I think that Japan is just a showcase that it's not worth it to act stupid over here because we will take it very seriously, and you're not going to like the consequences. Um, as far as how it's going to impact me, um, I know that there was one vlogger that I watch who all of her videos, she started making fewer videos, but whenever she did start making videos, it was always where she was by herself.
Yes.
She made sure that there was no one around. And I actually tweeted at her. I said, hey, look, I said, you know, you're not making as many videos as usual. And she goes, yeah, she says, because honestly, with all the stuff going on, being in Japan and being an obvious foreigner and pulling out a camera to record yourself, and these are her words, she said, it's cringe. So, so she said that immediately people are wary of the foreigner who pops out the camera, right?
Yes.
And there is a bit of hesitation, like, what is this gaijin gonna do?
Yep.
And so that hesitation or that wariness was not there before, wasn't present there, but now it is. I don't know if you've seen this or not, but there are some establishments that have already started putting out signs that say no live streaming and no videos.
Yep. Yep.
So that's going on. And then also my friend V, who I'm going to go visit soon, a friend of hers was live streaming at a festival, and she's an obvious foreigner. And someone came up to her and said, "Don't cause trouble." So it's just like, it's already happening.
Yes.
People are already on guard. And as someone who hasn't done anything, it would break my heart that if I just wanted to capture a special moment and I met with that aggression immediately because someone acted a fool, right?
Yep. Yep.
It's not fair to me, but that could be the reality if people don't start behaving. And that sucks. That
Yep.
really, really sucks.
Yep.
But as far as photos, I think for the most part, I carry myself in a way where I'm not trying to be seen. I'm not trying to make noise. I'm not trying to disrupt or disturb people. And I think that's something that people appreciate.
Yes.
Whenever I'm taking photos and people are in the way, I try to acknowledge them and let them know that, hey, look, I'm taking a photo. Is it okay? And 9 times out of 10, it's fine. Other times people will just kind of step back or
Yep.
they'll get out of the frame. It all works, and I think that when people are being considerate, they recognize it. And they also recognize it when you're not being considerate or you're being intentionally abrasive or aggressive or
Yeah.
condescending or crude or rude or invasive. People recognize that stuff. And with Japan being such a homogenous country, if a foreigner does it, it's gonna stick out. It's gonna stick out. So
Yeah.
don't pass down that punishment to other people because you can't control yourself. You have
Yeah.
to think beyond yourself. And I think that from moving forward, I'm gonna try to be even more polite, even more
Yep.
forward as far as like, hey, look, I'm taking photos. But it's very clear that what I do, I'm not taking video. So
Yeah.
that might be my silver lining or my saving grace.
Yeah. No, I agree, my friend. I think just like how you handle yourself and then hopefully being with others, if you have models that you're working with or you're taking pictures of people that are those ones that you come in contact with, at least you're with somebody else and it's not just you yourself, like doing
Right.
stuff. And I think,
Absolutely.
that's going to be a huge thing. And I think even for, like I said, for myself of like, like kill them with kindness and just be, even more than what you were before. Hopefully, everybody, that listens or, share with somebody else that's going to Japan, say, hey, just be aware. They're not targeting you, not upset at you, not mad at you, but like, you're paying for what's happened before, and just go with it and just be like,
Absolutely.
be apologetic and put it away and just come back to what you're doing, later,
Mm-hmm.
later.
Mm-hmm.
So, I love it all, my friend. And I see, our time, whenever we talk together is always, like we always have fun and can talk for, I think, hours on end. But is there anything else, Maurice, before I get going on our outro together, that you want to talk about, cover, give a last thank you, anything like that you'd want to do before we sign off together?
Oh gosh. Just thank you so much for always welcoming me, opening your podcast to me. That means a great deal to me. Thank you for being there and being supportive of my Kickstarter day one until today. I mean, I think that we've spoken so much that you've seen and heard about every step of it. That means a great deal to me. Thank you for always providing a lot of great ideas for my next visit. Whether it's this one coming up or the one after that or the one after that. You've always been a tremendous inspiration. And I hope that your listeners appreciate it too, because this guy has given me so many great ideas for traveling throughout Japan. And it's always all solid. And this last thing, I did listen to your episode about spooky movies.
Yep.
And I actually went out and bought a copy of Pulse. and it's made by the son of Kurosawa. I'm like an hour and a half into it. It's really something else. And I'm going to try to get some more movies off your list. There's some good ones on there. So thank you for making that. It was definitely insightful.
Appreciate it, my friend. And I gotta say, like, it's fun having somebody that I'm just as excited to see your photos and like what you're doing, and have that same, same energy coming from you, where you're like, yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what you have, and it's just like we're both, geeking out the whole time. So, I'm gonna call us to an end. Cyberpunk is calling. That updated, add-on content, my friends. Is fantastic, and I am on my like 5th playthrough of like 100+ hours every time I do it. Stoked about that. Yakuza games that are coming out. I will stop with that, geeky comments, for now. Call it an end. And I, on behalf of just, everyone, Maurice and myself, Lost Without Japan, the entire crew, everybody, just want to thank you for setting aside time for this interview today, pressing play, following along, downloading, just listening in bits and pieces and parts or all at once. It truly means the world to me that I am getting to a point that I will be able to possibly see by the end of this year 10,000 downloads happen for a show that I never, imagined would have, 10 people listen to, when I started, so just, I can't thank you enough. I can't thank you enough that you appearing there mean more than you can possibly imagine, because that support, you reaching out, those numbers aren't why I do it, but those numbers seeing that you're out there are part of why I can make the friends that I have, and have allowed me to make a friend like Maurice and others that are a part of the show. Truly, even if you never give a like, you never rate the show, you never share it with anybody, you have done already more than I could possibly ever thank you for. So just look forward to having you be back with our next regularly scheduled show. What's going to happen with this one is I'm going to have the interview with Maurice drop, and I'm also going to have some sights and sounds of Japan drop. It may not be for everybody. There's a lot of cicada. There's a lot of laundry mats and things that are there. It's just what I was into at the time I was there. But it will provide you a bit of Japan. So I hope you enjoy both of these episodes, and just join again as we continue our discussion on Japan, travel, culture, and your own Lost Without moments. To everyone out there, Oginki Day. Stay well, my friends.